On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1982. We're going to be having a listen to Zoom by Fat Larry's Band. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So tonight's video is going to be a bit of a case study, really, because I've been asked in the past about singers and pitch accuracy with particular singers and how far a note has to be away from the desired pitch for it then to sound flat or to sound sharp or to sound bad. So we're going to be taking a look at this song tonight because it's a song that I think is great, and here in the UK it was a huge hit and it was on a TV show called Only Fools and Horses, which is a very popular show here, and it was kind of back in the 80s when this song was released. So we know it really well and you'll hear it on the radio all the time. But then I learned that it wasn't a big hit in the USA, and Fat Larry's Band were from the USA, so that did surprise me because I knew this song so well. So armed with that fact, we can start to, I guess, speculate as to why it wasn't a hit over in the USA, and maybe it was a tuning thing, maybe it wasn't, but we're going to be jumping into this and see what we can see. I've run the isolated lead vocal through the pitch monitoring software as always, and I am going to be jumping into this quite a lot. So if you want to watch the video or listen to the song the whole way through without me interrupting it, there's a link in the description below as always.
Zoom, just one look, and then my heart went boom, suddenly, and we were on the moon, flying high in a neon sky. Oh, bang, just one touch and all the church bells rang, heaven cold and all the angels sang, sunrise shine in the midnight sky. Oh.
And I'm going to be jumping in here just before the chorus. And I mean, straight off the bat, the first thing to mention is that, of course, with the intro, we get that reference point. We now know the key. So any notes that are going to be sung, our ear and our brain is going to fill in the gaps to some extent. I think it's Freddie Campbell on lead vocal, and trying to match what he does from a pitch perspective would be really difficult because he just sings it the way he sings it. So when we look at this, the reason that it might sound slightly off to the ear is because this here doesn't exist on a keyboard. So we're not really used to hearing it, and especially nowadays with pitch correction, auto-tune, everything's getting calibrated to these lines. So when we're listening to a singer, how do we know which singer is more in tune than the other? What are we using in order to make this judgment? We're going to have a listen to this because I'm going to point out a few things as to why everybody can tell when somebody's slightly out of tune and when somebody isn't out of tune. But let's just listen to this again.
Zoom, just
So straight away, we've got this C4 that, is really close. And as we go through, have a listen to the amount of vibrato on the sound. This first note didn't have anything on it.
one look, and then my heart went boom.
So this whole phrase, again, we've got no vibrato here, which means we're just being given a held note. Now, if we started off going zoom, just one look, and had a little wobble in there, it means that the pitch is always moving. Therefore, it's harder to distinguish exactly where that pitch is. And some singers do that. They vibrato all the time. But here we've got straight notes. So straight notes are going to be a lot easier to determine whether it's sharp or flat because it's just being held. There's no movement going on. So if that held note isn't as accurate as it needs to be, it's going to really stand out compared to a note that might be flat. But if we go and I take that down to ah, and then apply vibrato, the vibrato would include the note that you are singing or attempting to sing. So it would be in there somewhere. Therefore, the ear would say, oh, it might sound a little bit flat, but the note is in there somewhere. So singers will be able to get away with it more using vibrato. The other huge thing to take a note of are intervals, and especially a vocalist's intervals in relation to their own voice and how they're singing a particular phrase. So when we have a little look through here, we've started on the C4, and you can see the variation in this held note. When holding notes, as we've just determined, that's going to make it really obvious as to where that pitch is, but it moves. So it means that we've got almost half the note kind of going up to the C4 and then half the note below. And you can see how this note here moves as well. So we're not even given that consistent pitch to be able to make that determination, which is why, again, the ear finds something slightly wrong in this sound because it's not as straight a pitch as it could be. But here we have the C4. We then hit another C4, but we're now lower than the C4 that we just hit. So it means that the interval is off. So if you're going na, 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 your ear wants to hear that na in exactly the same place. Na, 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 like that. Not na, 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 and slightly flat, because you've already heard where it should be. So here, because this was pretty close to the line, this second one is going to sound a little bit out. Now we get the contradiction of this A sharp 3 now being pretty much bang on, but it's following a note that was flat. So when I say about intervals being off, this interval is off because we should be a little bit higher here, and it by no means has to be exact. We're not talking about pitch correction or auto-tune here, but just a little bit closer. This is obviously far enough out for your ear to say, oh, there's something not quite making sense here. And that's all it is, the intervals. So as we then move forward, now have a look at this interval compared to this one. This is the same note. This is now lower down and significantly flatter than the A sharp 3 that we just heard. So then it's slightly flat here, but then here we go a little bit higher up to almost where we were before. So in a very short space of time, you're given 3 values that don't correspond to each other for an A sharp 3. The fact that the accompaniment obviously will be tuned to A440 standard pitch, which is where these lines are, equal temperament. So when the instrumentation is in the background, you have a reference point, and the ear will say, oh, that note wasn't related to the backing as much as it should be, because this is exactly in the middle. It's as far away from the backing as you can get between 2 notes. This is what will just tweak your ear, having this in between lines but then being bang on, and then as we go a little bit further forward, then pretty much being bang on again, slightly flat, but then in between lines. So these intervals are always chopping and changing, whereas they have to be a lot tighter. Having a straighter line or a straighter held pitch wouldn't make it as flagged by your ear, because this is moving all the time, and our ear takes in this information. Even though you can't see it, we can see it on screen because of what I've done, isolating the vocal, running it through the pitch monitoring software, but it gives you an appreciation of how much this note is moving, even though it should just be a straight C4. So let's listen to it again.
Bang!
It should be bang, a slide, bang, and then straight up, not a bang, and then bang. That little jump that we have up is just too much for the ear to accept as one held note. And then have a look here, slightly flat of the C4, and then slightly flat now. So we've got quite a lot going on here, but now we go up to exactly on the C4. So this contradicts everything that we've heard before. So if you imagine it as Freddie is giving us the notes of where a C4 is, and he's saying to our ear, right, a C4 is here and a C4 is here, and these two are quite consistent with pitch, and he's still kind of flat down here, and as we move over, he's now saying a C4 is here, but your ear has already heard these first two, so the ear says, no it's not, a C4 is here. So this is what I mean, that the interval is not accurate. That's where the ear wants it, and it comes back here, or here, or here, or here, and it's never here, and ever so slightly, tiny variations, which is what the ear wants to hear. It doesn't want to hear, like 50 cents as far away from the note as humanly possible until you get to the next note. But it's amazing that our ears can pick this up. We're not looking at it, you're hearing it, and you're thinking, oh, why does this sound different? But this is the reason. The notes that are being hit are consistently flat. It's not as if Freddie has just missed one note. He's continually below the line. He's continually flat of that line, which to me speaks more to having headphones on in the studio and not hearing the pitch, or at least the pitch sounding like it's in a different place. And anybody that's recorded in a studio will be able to relate to this, that when you've got headphones on, especially if it is quite loud, sometimes you record your vocal and you might be able to hear your vocal in your headphones, and then you go and listen to it back and you hear that it's all flat or it's all sharp, but it's consistently like that. So it means that what you're hearing is not a true representation of the pitch. So, I mean, what I do when I'm recording is I have one ear off and one ear on. So for me, I know that it's totally subjective as to what people prefer to do when they record vocals. But for me, I then get a better representation of exactly where the pitch is. I find that when I have both of them on, if for some reason it's misleading and it either sounds a bit sharper than it is or a bit flatter than it is. So I think this is exactly what's happened here. Freddie's hearing the track flat. So, and again, you could even say that, how do we know that he wasn't being played a version of the backing on tape and the tape was running a little bit slowly? By jumping into it in this kind of detail, you can start to see the common trends and what's happening with Freddie's voice.
Heaven cold and all the angels sing, sunrise shine in the midnight sky. Oh, soon.
And then I can't help but think, when he's getting into the chorus, for some reason, this is now a little bit clearer. Because he just locks into pitch here.
Oh.
See, I mean, that couldn't be more accurate, that A sharp 3. Even the he does a little kind of run in there that's absolutely bang on. And there, absolutely bang on the G sharp 4.
Chase the day away.
And absolutely nailed all of that when we had the zoom, chase the day away. All of those notes, he's absolutely nailing it. So for me, it doesn't make sense that you can have a vocalist that nails the chorus like this and then is exactly the same amount flat in the verse. And going back to the original premise for the video of how far out of tune does something have to be before you kind of notice it or it sounds bad. In this song, the verse is flat in quite a lot of places, but when you listen to the chorus and you take the song as a whole, the reason that it still works is because you've got so many notes that are being hit accurately. And that's it, that we only ever judge a vocal performance in a song on the whole song, because there's been loads of songs where a singer has missed a note, here and there throughout the whole performance, but you don't then just throw away the whole performance because they missed one or two notes. You take it as a whole, and that's exactly what happens with this song and every song ever when you're listening and kind of quantifying the accuracy of the vocal, you're quantifying it over the 3 or 4 minutes. And this is just absolutely super solid.
Stars came out to play. Then my whole wide world went zoom. Moonbeams dancing in the afternoon. Shadows flowing as the roses bloom. Looking down on a wonderland. Oh, smack.
Yes, so now in this verse, and I don't know whether in the studio they've recorded this maybe doing the verses and then doing the chorus, or maybe building up to the chorus, doing the bit before the chorus and then singing the chorus, and then you could hear that really clearly. But now in this second verse you can almost hear, I mean, he's now a lot more accurate, but there is almost like a tendency to be searching a little bit here.
Just one kiss and I was out of whack. All at once there was no turning back. Oh, so
this kind of thing that, you know, absolutely bang on the C sharp 4 and then just slightly sharp with the D sharp 4, all registering now, and even down here G sharp 3, you know, as being a lot more solid, a lot more accurate.
oh, far above the brightest star. Oh, soon you chase the day away.
And now we're just absolutely rock solid into this chorus again.
Came out to play.
Yeah, that's it. And he's got this really cool tendency to go, hey, and just kind of drift sharp with the vibrato as well. The other thing that I love about this vocal is just, you know, the tone, the sound, and the way that he's always into it. You know, we kind of have this chase the day away. You know, he's not doing anything other than keeping this tone really consistent. Day, and then a little bit of vibrato there. Unknown. You know, there's no let up with that. He's not going, oh no, and kind of getting light with it. It's just always the same.
To play. Oh, zoom, you chase the day away. High noon, the moon and stars came out to play. Oh, zoom, you chase the day away.
I mean, that was great there right at the end. Really cool vocal ad-lib with a little run in there that was really accurate again. You can enjoy it because it hasn't been edited. It doesn't sound like every other song. This is the thing. It separates this, you know, singer and this band and this song from other singers, other bands, other songs, because they don't all sound the same, because they're just singing the way that they sing, and they're not then being calibrated to the same tuning system, which is what is happening nowadays. That it's literally an industry standard to have a singer sing and then stick it on these lines, literally calibrate it to these lines so that every singer now sings with exactly the same pitch accuracy. If anything, I'm so used to hearing tuned vocals nowadays, it's great to hear something that is a little bit out, but it's just been left like that. And, you know, they've released it and it was a huge hit here in the UK. So, yeah, it's got a personality all its own. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for requesting this particular song for me to take a look at. As always, keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!